our next topic is we want you, which is the main reason you're here, we want you to share all your...
everything you know, just share it right
now.
We have unlimited time.
It's only do that in an hour.
Unlimited
Everything I know fits into an hour.
An hour.
So do
6
share.
hours.
So right now at Grossmont College, you have your class. It's not over yet, so how does that work? Tell everybody.
All right, well, I'll start a little bit back with the motivation of what happens. Is, you know, you guys know, and you're a 107 also. I've been in the San Diego area doing this long enough that I believe now that the FAA has made it incredibly easy for me to make a living doing this, right? They have set down very reasonable guidelines and very reasonable expectations and policies for me to operate as a drone pilot in the U.S. and make a living. Okay? So with that in mind, I become a little protective of it, right? This is now my career. I'm putting my kids to college on this money, so it's important to me, right? So I became a little, several years ago, I became kind of defensive, and we call them in the industry Best Buy pilots. I became defensive of the Best Buy pilots who could go out and buy a drone and do something inappropriately, or do something that actually ends up creating a rule or a law.
I think everyone watching this has gone through the exact same.
Yeah.
We should come up with a first you see your first drone,
right,
and then the timeline,
like the T-shirt. Yes, no, yes, no, right.
And then here you start becoming like really aware of like. Because the turning point for me was they were in Costco. You could buy a Mavic Pro at Costco, just taking a little card up there. It's just like you're already buying $1,000 worth of food. Why not throw another $1,000 toy in there? Which a lot of people looked at it as. But I mean, if you really think about what's going on, you're sending a piece of, a hard piece of plastic, maybe miles
3 pounds.
away.
Yeah, 3 pounds. Right. So with that, I was incredibly motivated to protect that industry. So, I joined the FAA FAST team. I've been on the FAA FAST team for several years now. But even that's developing. But what I had the opportunity to work with the America's Promise grant. And the America's Promise grant is where money is dedicated to continuing education for adults and workforce job training. Okay, so the interesting thing about community colleges, for the longest time, people thought community college was the stepping stone to a university. Right? That's what you thought community college was for. You go to community college for a couple of years, then you go off to university, right? Well, in the last 15 years, community colleges have figured out that they not only need to be that stepping stone, but they need to be that source of continuing education and job workforce training. Okay, so I mean, it is a lot of people don't go to a university. There are jobs in this world that need to be filled by folks that don't need a 5-year degree, right? So why would you want the expense if you don't have to have that, right? Okay, so we get this grant money, and the grant money was applied, we won the grant to provide free 107 certifications and job training. So, and when I mean the word free, folks, I really mean free. People see free all the time, and there's always a catch. No, when I say free, it's really free. To the point where, if you come to my classes, I'll even buy your parking pass. When does that happen? If you take your 107 and you pass, and by the way, I'm still at 100%. All you students out there, don't let me down. We're still at 100% pass ratio.
Wait a minute. You're telling me some of them fail?
Nobody's failed yet. I'm at 100% success rate. But what happens is after they go to take their test and they come back to me, I give them $150 that they used to take the test. Wow. So, John, when I say free, brother, I really mean free.
So, guys, take advantage of this.
Well, and with that came the ridiculous volume of success, and now is where I get to tell people that are watching, sorry. It is a 2-year funding program. In my first group, we filled the class barely, and we were struggling. And as soon as folks got the word out, like you did, I have a 1,500 name waiting list right now.
Wow.
So I have 1,500 people in line.
Well, if you go for my brother,
just in San Diego. Exactly.
How many other community colleges? Nobody in San Diego?
Nobody has the program we're doing. So my program is...
In the United States?
Wow. Nobody's doing what we're doing in the U.S. So what we're doing is we bring them to school. There's 3 sections. There's 3 modules. First is like ground school and flight school. So you learn about the Phantom. We learn about DJI Go 4. You learn flight hack. We have some flight simulators. Then we go out and we teach them how to fly the bird. So once they've flown the bird and they can perform, they actually you have to perform, right? It's not just because the class is free, it's not a free pass.
Yeah,
you got it, right? Okay. So these guys, they go out, they learn to fly, and then once we're done learning to fly, where they're competent with the sticks, then we go back to the classroom and then we do 107. And we do the 107, and now, actually, my students right now are on our 1 week break, our late spring break, while they're going to take their 107. On March 6th, we come back to school, and we're back into our last module for us, which is surveys, mapping, and inspection.
Wow.
And that's where they learn. That's where they learn what they learn the certified processes to do home inspections that are approved by companies like Betterview, Stockpile Reports. All of the companies that I work for that have a standardized set of, you have to be able to do this, that's what we train to. So the guys that come out of my class literally walk right into these jobs with their certification.
And this isn't more of an advanced class. I mean, I got the impression it was like, all right, get you to the point where you take your 107. Once you got it, all right, good job. But you're actually teaching mapping, sort of like the real jobs out there that you do with the drone.
Here's
not everybody's gonna be able to fly for Netflix.
Correct. Okay, so we have so that's that. Oh, great segue, because we have two sides of what we're doing. We have the mapping side and we have the cinematography side. Right. Don't get me wrong. I respect cinematography side. I totally do.
And they're not making less Netflix shows.
That's true, no doubt. But let's talk. But in cinematography, what's happening is, in cinematography, in my opinion, it's like getting into the NBA. Right? It is an elite job. Thousands of people want it. Right? And you're just got out of class today.
Right.
You're not getting.
You're not going to fly a $50,000 camera or a $20,000 bird.
But you are, the day out of class, certified to do inspections in this. So in my last class, in my first round, I had two students there was rock stars, okay? And I'll talk about the rock star here in a minute too. Two students that were just rock stars. One, hey Vin, I hope you're watching. Shout out, brother. Vin was in my class. He was in my mapping class, and these jobs at PG&E were opening up in Northern California. And I've been working with Precision Hawk about staffing, getting them some pilots. So I call him up and I go, look, I got a kid down here. This guy really, he's gonna be awesome. They said, okay, well, we need him up here by then. So I had to go back to my college administration and say, can I graduate this guy early? Let me give him his assignments, get him graduated, and literally the day he graduated out of class, he bolted up, and two of my students are now working in these career drone jobs, making bank. Okay,
right.
So they're making great money. First job.
What platform are they flying?
Well, they're all the gear is owned. Where they're at now, it's all owned by Precision Hawk and PG&E. Right. But they're I2s. They're Inspire 2s with X7 cameras.
Okay, so again, $6,000 aircraft. So I mean, we're
guys, because my frustration is because I'm surrounded with a lot of Part 107s, and none of them are like. Somebody just posted, like, the other day that he's not making money, so he doesn't even consider. He's not even considering renewing his certificate.
Great. Yeah, I can tell you. Let me tell you some facts. Okay, the first year, over 220,000 pilots registered for 107. At the first renewal, 6 months in, 77,000 of them have not re-upped.
Right.
Okay, guess what, folks? Look at me. If you're not working in the drone industry, it's because you're not trying. Okay, there is more work out there than there are pilots. One of the things that I have to caution pilots against is don't fall back on these referral services as your only income source, because you're competing with thousands of other pilots. Right? Don't be afraid to go out, pound the pavement, and land some of your own clients. Boom! Oh my gosh!
I mean, just looking for a job is a full-time job, right?
Well, see, and one of the modules we teach, one of the modules I teach, the cinematography guy does it, is actually called, okay, you've got your 107, now what are you going to do? Right, and I teach them entirely the whole process of how to work in the gig economy, like an Uber driver. Some of my students were Uber drivers, right? They get this gig economy thing. Some of the senior guys come in there like, what the heck is this guy talking about, right? Gig economy. But you have to learn how to work in that economy. That's how you're going to get paid. So a lot of these guys are really good with that, and they have that little bit of a hustle. But one of the things that I teach my students, I tell them, and I'll give you this example. I recently shot a job on USD campus, University of San Diego.
Right.
Okay, I live about a half mile, 2 miles
I saw
from that
that,
place.
yeah.
And I've been dying to get on that campus to fly for years. It's beautiful, right? There's
gorgeous.
all the tall buildings and the churches, and it's just gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
So I get hired by this guy. This company is doing a job. They're redoing a building. So I'm mapping some buildings. Here, guys, pay attention. Here's where you get really smart, because when I had to show up and I go, man, I've been wanting to get on this campus for a while. Well, now I'm on the campus. Nobody knows what I'm on the campus for, right? So I have to check in with the campus cops, right? So I pull up, and I'm wearing my vest, of course, and my badge, and everything. I pull up, but hey, I'm here to fly this. We're going to be over here, blah, blah. And I say, by the way, oh, don't forget, I'm going to be back around 7 o'clock tonight. They said, okay, no problem. My client did not want anything at 7 o'clock. But if I had access to that campus, I'm going to line my portfolio. Right? If you're going to give me access, I'm going to line my portfolio. So I went back in the golden hour in the evening. You saw some of those shots. Stunning, weren't they?
Yeah.
Stunning. So I got these shots, all these beautiful orbits around the church and rising shots of the buildings all lit up and the sunset in the background and all that kind of stuff. And I post a couple on their website, on the thing. Post a couple on the USD website. Give a couple to my client. And it wasn't an hour before my phone rang. My phone rings, and and I have to apologize because I'm not big on Catholic churches. Was it the diocese? Is that who? Is that who runs it?
Yeah.
This guy's calling me up, going, "Hey, we want to buy your stuff and put it on our website."
That's awesome.
No problem.
Yeah.
So day before yesterday, same thing. I'm at Point Loma Nazarene University doing the same thing. And of course, I'm on the campus. Have you ever been to Point Loma Nazarene? It is on the cliffs. It is above. It is above where everybody goes at sunset.
College,
yes, where everybody goes at Sunset Cliffs to fly. It's right up there. So that's the view we had. Same thing. I said the same thing. Oh, don't forget, I'm coming back at 7 o'clock. While we were there, and I got a shout out to aerial traffic. Randy worked with me on that job. We did some 360 panels while we were there.
Nice.
From locations that weren't ideal. Okay, so one location we had to shoot from was basically the corner of this baseball field. So we do a 360 panel from there. And when I was all done, I sent an email back to the community safety person and the head of the police department who gave me access to the camp. Thank you so much for your access. Here's a free panorama for your enjoyment. Feel free to share it.
Yeah.
So here's what happened was, so they got this panorama and they're going, oh, and they're, imagine them with their computer, zooming around, zooming in and out, looking at their campus. And of course, how long was it before their campus director called me up and said, and here's where I was smart. I didn't do the panel from a prime location. I did it from an off location. So they would say, man, imagine if this was over here.
Right.
So you come back and look at, of course I can come back, right?
Yeah.
So you always seize the opportunity wherever you are.
Absolutely. That's the way to do it.
I'm at Otay doing work on the Otay crossings. Right? You guys know we're getting new border crossings, right? The big ones, huge ones. It's going to be the largest commercial crossing on our border between Mexico and U.S. It will be the largest commercial truck crossing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm down there and I'm doing it every week, right? Doing it every week. How I got that was because when Trump's border walls were being built, Border Patrol hired me to do some video stuff.
So all
that stuff is on every footage you've seen of that border wall is on me. I'm the exclusive pilot the Border Patrol has authorized to fly for that. So what happens is that now this construction company comes up and says, oh, well, we want to have a drone pilot go do this. Border Patrol says, well, there's only one pilot we allow to fly this close to the border. You got to call this guy up and shoot. Boom, there we are. So then there's a 4-year job I just got. I have to go back to that site every month for 4 years.
I thought that's
Oh, it's Chula Vista is Action Drones territory.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I go down there and see them and go up. I may be teaching in the Sweetwater Union School District next, so I'll be talking to Daryl a lot.
Awesome.
But and that's one of the things we talked about in campus. In drones, with drones, there are no county lines. Right? This is not your territory. That is not my territory. It is where we fly.
Exactly.
It's networking. Local businesses have never done well competing against each other and butting heads.
No
Local
doubt.
business as whether it's breweries, whether it's
That's right.
surf shops, when they coordinate and work together, everybody's better for it.
Without a doubt.
I think we're still in that area where everybody's friends.
Yeah.
Nobody's like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree. Even in the commercial venue, because back to my class again, I tell people, look, see these guys you're sitting right next to you working with today? Well, you're all gonna have your 107s tomorrow, and if you get a phone call and they say, hey man, I need 5 pilots, you're gonna say, yeah, I've got them, and hopefully you'll call me.
Yeah.
Or you'll call this guy. We will work together.
I mean, that for me, that's the main point of school and schooling together, because everybody can learn all this stuff individually, but the whole point is you're creating camaraderie. These are going to be people who are your comrades for the rest of your career and maybe into retirement. And that for me is the major reason for any kind of education.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm hearing you say is that running a drone business is just like running every other kind of business.
Well, with the one exception.
I mean,
I can tell you the one exception is that, and I've run other businesses before, right? The one exception about running a drone business is I have not smiled on a drone. I come home, I'll give you an example, I did a gig for Hard Rock Hotel.
Serious all the time.
I did a gig for Hard Rock Hotel, and when I came home, my face hurt. My wife looked at me and I said, I was smiling for 5 hours. I couldn't believe. And I walk away like, can you believe these guys pay me to do this? It's crazy. And I get to see, I get to see rock stars on backstage at places. I was backstage in Vegas at the Hard Rock Hotel for 50 Cent.
Wow.
Right? Now, okay, look at me. Am I that? Look at me. Is that my crowd?
No,
it's not my crowd. Was I having a great time? Heck, yes, I was. It was awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
So drone work is crazy exciting. It's different every single day. Even on a job that you've done today that you go back tomorrow, it's going to be different. I tell my students that the part about operating the drone is almost the one part that's incidental, really, to a drone business, to a successful drone business. Because most of the time, not most of the time, often we're flying an autonomous mission anyway. It goes up and does this, right?
You're just like, oh, I hope it doesn't. Oh, okay, it missed it. Okay. Oh my God! All right, watch it. Is it gonna hit it? Is it gonna hit it? How many times did?
Well, somebody last night posted like it was like a concert, and he was flying on top of the big crowd. I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
It's in another
That's
country.
always wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but it's in another country.
I have two.
I'm not sure where in Europe, but I just said be
country.
safe. But you can't make comments because you don't know what's happening in the background.
And you know what? I've been a victim of that, especially because one of my early videos was at the Wave House in San Diego. Red Bull was having a grand opening party, so we were there to film it for Red Bull, and I'm flying over the people that are in the venue, right? So we published the video. The video was rocking. Red Bulls. Everybody's loving it. We're making $500 a minute. It seems like it's just crazy. Having a great time. Yeah. And man, the video goes posted, and man, I was just, you're over people. You can't be over people. Whoa, reel it in, gentlemen. Understand the law. Before you start flaming on somebody, make sure you understand the law, okay? So I actually, based on that, I created a module in my course calling, it says, is the waiver on the back of my ticket enforceable? So here's how that works, okay? So the FAA is very clear about flying over people, where they say it, and then there's a clause that says you can fly over people involved in the production, right? So if someone's involved in production, whether they are...
I thought that was 336, or...
333.
Right.
But it's still, the same ruling still applies. Okay? So if the ruling is that you can't fly over people not in the production, well then it means you can fly over people that are in the production. Okay, so being in the production doesn't necessarily mean a camera grip or operator. It means anybody in the production. Anybody of the actors. All the actors in the production are part of this crew. Okay? Right. So what happens when you go to Disneyland? You go to Disneyland, you walk in the door, somebody hops out from behind, takes your picture, snaps your picture, and says, oh, have a great day, it'll be for sale over here on your way out. Right. Look at the back of your ticket. Yeah. The back of your ticket says, and especially in a Disneyland or an amusement park where there's roller coasters and rides and the potential for you to get hurt. There's this big thing on the back of this thing that says, A, they can use your likeness. Right. You're in their park, If they
Yep.
take your picture, they can use it in their advertising. So it says that you can't sue them for your likeness. And it also says you can't sue them if you're injured in their park. So pay attention to those, because those are the path, those are the, and it's, of course now I can't think of the name, there's a clause in the California law that calls it this, and I'll know it, it's a something liability waiver, basically is what it is. And they are enforceable in the state of California. So anytime you step onto a private venue, and Hard Rock Hotel was my private venue. These people paid money in a ticket to get inside this venue.
So it was indoors?
No, it was outside. The Hard Rock Hotel surround their pools with buildings, and they have concerts there. Okay.
You're right around the corner.
Yeah. So with that, then we got to the point where everybody was that's inside there is technically part of. If I'm doing a video of a live performance, everybody in the crowd is part of the performance.
Right.
Therefore, you can legally fly over them.
Right. That's what I thought.
Okay, so there's ways of that. So what you can't do is you can't fly over. We talk about that whole right to privacy thing. What you can't do is you can't fly over people at the beach. Right? You can't. They haven't signed. They haven't bought a ticket. They're in a public place. They're expecting relative privacy, or sorry, I don't think you can get privacy in the beach.
What about? But all right, so you're doing a charity event.
Okay.
And like I saw this the other day, there was a guy flying a Mavic directly over a crowd of people who were carrying, some disabled people, one surfboards into the water.
Yeah. That's questionable. That's questionable because did those people sign a waiver?
Right.
Were they aware that they're so that one I'm not
right.
And that wasn't in a secure environment. That's public property.
I guess the thing is, unless you are damn sure
don't
you are good to go,
right,
because it's you're never gonna fly again.
Right.
You actually hit somebody with a drone.
Okay, so that's the best statement I've heard is that people think. And the FAA has been really clear about this. All through their history, look at anything. The FAA doesn't suspend.
Right.
They revoke.
Right.
And there's no time limit. Oh, you'll get it back in you don't get it back in 90 days. It's revoked. Right. You're done.
Wow.
So that little green card is super valuable. Because anything you screw up, they're just going to go give us that card back. And you're done.
It's zero tolerance.
You can never be.
And the problem is it's really never a problem until it's a problem.
Right.
Then it's a big problem.
All right. I have two questions for you, I guess. They both have to do with hobbyists.
Yeah, okay.
Hobbyists.
Right. Number one, what do you see coming down the line for those Best Buy, as we call them, those Best Buy guys? The hobbyists. I mean, I've already noticed with the new bow tie restrictions. But I used to see at least 2 drones a night a couple of years ago. Now nothing, and I don't fly in my backyard anymore.
Right.
I live out next to Gillespie, so I have a nice little test field I go out to test out my my stuff, and and Lank. I'm always able to do an immediate Lank request.
Yep.
That's awesome. But what restrictions do you see coming down the line maybe this year?
Well, and that's awesome, but I have to answer it from the knowledge-based side of the FAA, and I can tell you, your question is 180 out. So instead of what restrictions are coming, what allowances are coming? Well, let me answer that question instead, okay? Because I can tell you that a lot of things are changing. We've been through now what works out to be a cycle and a half of the 107. It's good for 2 years, so now some people have re-upped, and now we're about halfway through that process. So we're getting more on, but we've gone through this re-up process. So the FAA has always had the philosophy of this is against the rule. Rule. Those are against the rules. But here's what I'll do for you. I'll give you an exception or a waiver to that rule to let you do something. Night flying. Right? Let's just use night flying instead. Everybody wants a night flying waiver. So, problem is that it's like a double negative, right? There's a rule against it, and you get a ruling that says you can break it, and then what can I really do? It becomes confusing. Whereas if you go to the California driver's license thing, okay, driver's license, a commercial driver, class A semi-truck driver, or something like that, or a bus driver, he gets a license that says he can drive that bus. Then he gets endorsements on that license says, oh, by the way, he can drive with air brakes. Oh, by the way, he can drive with a manual transmission. oh, by the way, he can drive with 2 trailers, or by the way, he can drive, whatever.
Same with your pilot. You get your private pilot,
Right.
and you get your complex.
Correct.
You
Yep.
get that.
Yep.
You put your gear up and down.
So I can tell you that in the next cycle, I know the FAA is working diligently to create a endorsement instead of a waiver process.
Okay.
So if you have an endorsement, such as a nighttime endorsement, then you can just fly at night. You've been endorsed to do that. So that's huge. So when we talk about what is the FAA doing, they're actually really trying to, and let's just be honest, they're trying to make their own jobs easier, right? And there's nothing wrong with that because there's paperwork backlog and all this stuff. And if they can have a process that works better, that's a positive process, then I know that's what they're working toward. So, enforcement agency, it's a regulatory agency. So it's challenging for the FAA to have these rules and then right, but then there's nobody standing at there, there's nobody out there at your flying field going, well, you're write a ticket because you don't have your FAA number, right? There's no drone cops. So, and they don't want that. The FAA is not interested in becoming an enforcement agency. They want no part of it. That's why you just lost your license because we ain't got time to talk about it. You're done.
Right.
Okay.
But
So,
there's still, I'm sorry to interrupt, they still, I read something about, there's a lot of flaws and there's a.
Well, the only thing that I heard that I thought there's supposed to be a test, a test, like maybe similar to the 10-question test we had to do on DGI. I don't know if you remember.
Totally.
Whatever it is, I'm assuming it's pretty simple.
So another, maybe that 10-question test does satisfy the, that I think it's somewhere down there's like 10.
So I know what you're hitting at, and I can tell you that just in the last 3 days, it's flip-flopped a couple times. Because the problem is they are, they're talking about this licensing thing and the law. So the law, I'm honestly a little jealous about what Chula Vista did because they're so forward-thinking. The police department is really doing some great stuff, and they're doing it right, if you will, meaning they're taking care of the airspace issues, they're taking care of the usability issues, they're taking the criminal use perspective into the thing. Because, a cop can only do so much, right? A cop's not allowed to enter your home without permission or a search warrant. Well, does that mean you can't search your backyard by law? It means that way. Well, a drone can. So they're really paying attention to all those legal aspects and making sure they're meeting the letter of the law before they send something out. And so far, their ratios, I think the one story that I know was super successful, there was a disturbance, this guy was a known criminal, third striker type guy, they were having domestic issues, cops were on their way, supposedly, so they bugged out the drone ahead of time, and just as the drone gets there, they see the guy walking out of his backyard with like a bedroll, throwing it over the fence. The drone sees it.
Oh, wow.
And as it opens up, the shotguns and the guns come tumbling down the canyon. So the police department, the guy in the drone says, yeah, you guys want to go right over the backyard, all the guns are in the backyard.
Oh,
So sure enough, hi, police, we're here, there's a problem. The guy's all, oh, I got nothing, come on in. They walked right through the house, up the fence, and got all the guns. Drone success, man, drone success.
And he probably would have heard a helicopter.
Yeah. Oh, he would have heard a helicopter. Absolutely.
What are they flying on? Is that a Matrice?
It's a 210? Yeah, they actually have a couple. They have the 210, and I believe they have a 1000. But the 210 is just so quick and stealthy, and it's all
so
leather.
is the 210 like the lowest end of it, and the 600
No,
is
the numbers are just millimeters across from the props, right? So a DJI, a Phantom, anybody know what a Phantom is? It's even on the back of the transmitter. It's a 330. It's 330 millimeters across. Okay, so it's a 330. Okay, but anyway, so the Phantom, the Matrice 210 is basically a 210. It's a smaller package, but it's weatherproofed. It's the motors are sealed, so it can operate in rain, light rain, and things like that. And it's got multiple payload packages, camera on the top, camera 3 cameras. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty burly for a smaller rig.
How much are they?
Oh, a base 210 with nothing on it's going to cost you about $4 grand.
$4 grand. Wow.
Yeah, but you need to have stuff on.
Oh yeah. By the time you're flying it, you've spent 10.
But what would be better, Inspired 2 or a Matrice 2?
For what job? For police?
Yeah, police force.
The 210.
The 210, okay.
The 210's got it's an industrial rig, so it's got probably a longer life cycle duration, and it's weatherproof. So it's designed for harsh conditions, and whereas a Phantom, you don't want to get those wet, right? You don't want to get a Mavic wet; it doesn't like it.
I heard the new Phantom 5 will be waterproof though.
Yeah.
Rumor.
Well,
Interchangeable cameras.
Right.
You know that they announced yesterday that there is no P5.
I know, and I have all this P5 money. I've been waiting. I was going to be the first
been
one.
saving all
Hey,
this
everybody,
money.
let's got my
Couch change,
P5. No, I did buy a new toy though.
What do you get?
I did buy an Inspire one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they're getting cheaper, obviously.
I
They're
know.
a little bit more available as people are moving into our
So are you getting
iTunes.
X5 to go with that?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's what I like it for is I am getting some larger airframe experience.
Yeah.
And I do have the X3 on there, so my goal is to go out to the desert. My family rides, motorcycles and
We're a
quads,
Dude Bucky family.
and try to follow them without worrying about running into a sand dune and destroying my $6,000 I2 or what have you. But I know you've been flying.
Well, do you have a single? Do you have a single or dual operator?
It's a single. I
Single
think
operator?
it's just literally a V1 T600.
Okay.
I've got two.
What props
T40s.
are on it? What props? How do you put the props on it?
The just like
Quarter
the
turn
Phantom
click.
4.
Quarter turn click. Okay.
Yes.
I got it.
So that's an older version?
Stash. No, that's the second generation. That's the second version of that. The first one, the props screwed on.
Right, like the P3.
Yeah, like a P3, which is I kind of prefer that. I left mine that way. But
Because they can't unscrew themselves.
well, no, but not only that. Well, they can. They can. If you put them on right, they don't. But the kicker is that the little quarter turn latches thing. I've seen those breaking, and there's guys out there that sell aluminum replacements.
Okay.
But let me know if you need them. I don't
know.
No, I tell you. I can
You
tell
don't know
I
until
can
you
tell you.
know.
I tell you that the I1 production for that's long gone. I got tons of inventory. If you need props or keepers or something, I got boxes of it. So no worries about it.
Now, it's kind of been a little bit of a dream of mine since I first saw a drone to be able it is. And a guy I was working for at the Crew Classic down in Mission Bay, that's what they were using. And it's got the HDMI out already built in. And they were doing live 720p straight to the internet. That was really cool. But I mean, I know I've heard something, and again, when I heard it, I didn't pay attention because I wasn't sure I was going to invest in a little bit older technology. But the batteries, the TB47s and 48s, is there an issue with those, or did they fix it?
They fixed it. Okay. They fixed it. What it was is so on the first production run. Okay, so people that don't know how DJI works. How DJI works is DJI creates a new model. Then they build a batch of them by hand. Then they sell that batch. The money they get from selling that batch is what they use to retool the assembly line. Then the first technical run of that product happens. So everybody remembers when the Inspires first came out, the I2s first came out, they were having this problem. What it was the pins, the spring-loaded pins that when the battery sits down and puts pressure on them, the spring pressure wasn't up. And after a little bit of vibration, and you have a little carbon buildup, now you have no contact. So that's what was happening. Okay. So there's couple ways people were doing this. One, you just kind of rub the contacts off and get the carbon off the contacts. There's one way to clean it up. But nowadays, the production runs, the springs are much more. You got to get it. And I2, you got that double button now, the round button with the pin. You got to seat them both down to make sure they're locked in. Yeah, they had no problem after that.
Cool.
That's good to know. I mean, it's definitely a much heavier feeling craft than the Phantom. You go back to the Phantom, it feels a little toyish. My main thing is having trouble just finding a place that is going to be safe to fly it. It's not. I mean, again, people are used to seeing Phantoms and Mavics. Something a little bigger, it might get some feathers ruffled.
So of course, Team CFSD.
Oh yeah.
So one of the things that I have to deal with, and most commercial pilots have to deal with, is you have to deal with your customer. Right? I've had customers when I go to set that Phantom on the ground. Oh, you don't have one of those?
Yeah, right.
Sure, I've got one.
You have a 6 prop.
Yeah, I've got one, no problem. This has got a 1-inch sensor on my 20 megapixel camera. If you want me to fly that other one, no problem. it's $500 to fly this one. It's $1,500 to fly this one. Is this what you want? Oh no, the Phantom's okay. That's always what they say. But the customer will have this impression that those Inspires, they're the real deal.
Right.
Okay, they are. They're awesome. But you, as the professional, have to educate your client that what you're hiring for are images. The camera on this one's better than the camera on that one. So what do you want me to fly?
Which
right?
in a lot of cases, clients don't really know
They don't know
anything about
anything.
it yet.
They
How to
don't,
educate
yeah.
them. Yeah.
And you know what? And one of since we're going to go to client for a few minutes, I'll advise people when you're dealing with these brokerage services like Drone PEP, Drone Base, the Hover, the other one. There's several of them out there. Often these clients are real estate agents that have no regard for your skill, ability, at all. They don't care. They want the cheapest, the crappiest, and I see ads.
Because they can do it themselves.
Oh, I can do it myself.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. If you could, you should.
So
Anyway, but I get all the time, I get this, I see these ads. Oh, it should only take 15 minutes. So
Right.
we're only going to pay you $80. It should be easy. Well, if it should be ezy, then you do it. It's not easy. That's why you're hiring me to do it.
Doing real estate.
That's right. Well, and agreed. There are those out there.
Well, and the amount of liability that you're taking on. I mean, especially
paying
you're talking
for it,
about
exactly.
flying over a $15 million house.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
you have to have your insurance figured out.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of stuff that people don't, take into account. It's the same thing in the restaurant industry. Why am I paying $15 for a lobster?
It's a $4 deal. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Much everything costs.
When you go home and have stomach flu, you'll sue them. That's what you're paying for.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we have had, we've had a lot of these agent jobs, and there's this one particular agent that posts a lot, and every single one of his ads, every time he posts this, is looking to build a long-term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Really? You think by 2 years from now you have one?
Right.
No, he just goes to the lowest common denominator, craps on that person, then that person won't bid on his next job because they hate the guy. But he keeps getting work.
Right.
Everybody does it one time. Learn this one guy. He's always there. So you'll get those things. You'll get people that don't understand what it takes for you to be there to do that professional.
Some
right?
people also
And
hire someone that's not even certificated.
all the time. And that's why I fight the fight that I fight with Grossmont. That's why we're educating people.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly correct. I want to protect my industry. And as a matter of fact, I run a website called Watt Flyers, very much like RC Groups. Watt Flyers electric only. And I answer a lot of questions. I got a question the other day. This person said, "Hey, look, I don't have my 107. I want to do a roofing inspection for my neighbor. They're not going to pay